What is up, everybody? I am your host, Katie Gonzalez, and you are listening to What the Psychology. Welcome, everybody. I just want to say that I'm really excited that you're here, and I'm excited to now be a part of the podcast world. Well, I guess I can't really say that because I have been a part of the podcast world. I have just been on the other end of it, on the listening end. So now I do want to give you a quick heads up that this is just the pilot episode, so I won't actually be diving into any content today. I am posting the very first episode shortly after this one, so I'm not leaving you hanging by too much. I want to start off by telling you about myself and why I wanted to start this podcast. I am a United States Air Force veteran, a wife, and a dog mom to a 3-year-old Shih Tzu named Augie. I am also a full-time student majoring in behavioral health, and what is really interesting is that my job in the Air Force was completely different than what I am pursuing now. My job in the military can best be described as human resources, and I loved my job. Frankly, there was nothing wrong with it, but when I was separating from the military, I did a human resources internship, and it was very different in the civilian sector than what I was used to. And let me tell you, it did not suit me, not one bit. When I started taking college classes, I was actually majoring in general administration. But that very first semester, I took a few admin classes and also discovered that that was not for me. However, there was hope on the horizon, guys, because I did take an intro to psychology class that same semester, and I fell in love with psychology. So maybe now you're thinking, why the podcast? Well, like I said earlier, I've been a listener of other podcasts for quite a while. Not only that, I am a big true crime podcast fan. And in its most obvious form, when you're talking about true crime and the people committing such heinous acts, psychology always gets brought up, whether it's something about mental illness, their childhood, victimology, etc. While listening to these podcasts, I thought it would be a really cool idea to dive deeper into these type of things. So here we are. I decided to start a podcast of my very own doing that very thing. What really gave me inspiration to start was this other podcast that I was listening to. And they posed the question that I think we all think of. Why do we do what we do? The episode that I was listening to was actually about public executions and why did people watch them? In the same context, they posed the question of if we are driving and we pass by a car accident, we always want to stop and look. However, do we really want to see what happened? Do we really want to see a body on the road? Probably not. So why do we look? This really got me thinking and was inspiration for me to start. Why not do it? Why not start my own podcast on a subject that I am very passionate about, that I am wanting to learn more about, something that I am pursuing in my life, which, by the way, I meant to mention that although I am pursuing my degree in behavioral health, my end goal is to be a clinical mental health counselor and get licensed to practice. With that, I will have to get my master's degree next. So to me, this subject matter is very interesting. I often ask myself these type of questions, and I wonder, why do we do what we do? How do genetics play a part in what we do? Why did events like the Holocaust happen? And much more. I mean, we can go on forever. So now I'm going to give you a little sneak peek into what I was thinking of going over and covering during the podcast. We are obviously going to talk about true crime, the minds of people, whether fictional or real people, human behavior. I also want to talk about famous psychologists, their theories, their works, their discoveries, and how they impacted the psychological world. Nature versus nurture is always a very interesting topic to cover, so that will definitely be something. We are also going to go over experiments and some of those are not the most ethical, let me tell you, but they are very interesting and their findings have helped in the study of psychology. Of course, we're going to go over mental illness, different disorders, those kind of things. We will dive into them. We'll talk about mass hysteria. Oh, and I just might ruin your childhood with psychology. And by that, I mean maybe taking a story or a character and making it like an alternate story and changing things. Might just shake things up a little bit. We can talk about asylums, the depths of human depravity, social psychology, but don't worry, it won't all be completely dark. We will also talk about other things. Some lighter topics such as stress, sleep, mindfulness, creativity, personality, although that one can kind of be dark when you start to get into multiple personality disorders and those type of things. So, as the question posed, why do we do what we do? I hope you want that question answered, which I probably won't be able to really answer that completely. I don't think we ever will be. But I think it's fun to dive in and to think about it. And I hope you look forward to learning about it, because I know I do. I am also open to any suggestions, so any ideas that you might have, let me know and I will be more than happy to do research and maybe add them into the plans that I already have for this podcast. I want this to be a podcast where you can engage and get to know me and I get to know you. And with that, I hope you're ready to dive into episode 1. So welcome to the What the Psychology family. I am so happy to have you, and I am glad that you have decided to walk this journey with me. You are more than welcome to send us an email at wtpsychology@gmail.com. Follow the Facebook page at WT Psychology. Send us a tweet at WT Psychology, and like us on Instagram at What the Psychology. I am your host, Katie Gonzalez, and you have been listening to What the Psychology.